Max, we're going to talk about why Starbucks sucks.
Or not.
No, it sucks. And we're going to have this conversation. Actually, it's not a complete, total 100% suck fest, but it is a 99% suck fest.
It's they suck at making coffee.
Well,
They
yes,
don't make coffee.
but stop ruining the podcast. No, everyone's going to tune out now. That was the nugget. That was the nugget.
I'm sorry. Please forget everything.
No, it's too late. We're going to talk about why Starbucks sucks. But here's the thing. I mean, if you were to go, and you've kind of already said this already, but if you were to go down to the average Joe on the street,
and
you
ask them, what does an espresso taste like?
No, you ask them, what is Starbucks? What kind of company is Starbucks? What do you think they would say?
I don't know. I think they're going to say that it's a coffee company.
Yeah, they're going to say it's a coffee shop company, right?
Coffee chain?
Listen, I've just looked up Joe, how often Joe is being used. Shops. It's the number 26th most used name for men. So you could definitely go down and ask a regular Joe. What?
What's the number one?
Name popularity.
Huang.
No, hold on. Most popular baby names. No, most popular names. Liam for a man. That's a surprise, and unless the Irish are suddenly breeding like crazy. And the female is, this could be a UK site. No, SSA. Okay, don't know what site this is. And Olivia is the most common female name.
Right.
Yep. There you go. So if you're Liam, join the millions.
Join the club.
You're not special at all, Liam.
You're not at all. Totally not special. Happy birthday. You're not special.
Yes. Happy birthday. You're not special at all. Starbucks sucks. Let's get back onto the whole.
Yes. Why does it suck? Why does everyone say?
Can I just say why we're talking about this topic today? And we're talking about.
Don't say
no?
it. No.
Why? What?
I don't know.
Oh, just don't say it. No, I'm going to say it.
Maybe do.
Yeah, I think I will. It was because in my feed, because I have Google knows I'm always looking at coffee things. Mm-hmm. It's always sending me coffee stories, and every morning I wake up and I try to find something interesting about coffee, and my feed is now just being dominated by Starbucks stories, and they are the most inane stories, right? Inane. So there'd be things like what people think is news. Like, give me an example. TikTokers are going crazy after this new drink at Starbucks.
But that's not news. That's clickbait.
Well, but all clickbait is news. I mean, can anyone tell the difference nowadays?
Well, I mean,
or this Starbucks barista almost quit when he got this order.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I get in my feed. And I start hating Starbucks by association. Wow. It's not their fault, but I always did hate them. Actually, I didn't really hate them.
Actually, it is their fault.
Why is it their fault? Oh no, I'd love to blame them. Tell me why.
I have a whole plot for this podcast. I actually thought this one through.
Oh, okay. Take over, Max. I'm pretty excited.
No.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that.
That's your plan. Your plan is to not take over. Your plan is just to say, take it away, Nick.
Yeah. No, it's so actually. I'm not in a great mood because Valentino Rossi just declared that he's going to retire at the end of the year. So I'm a little gutted about it. So
I thought you told me we had this conversation before. I thought he retired 24 years ago. Rossi, yeah. You said he's 11 foot tall and he's now 90 or something. You said.
No, he started 25 years ago or thereabout. But he's going to retire at the end of this season.
Okay. Well. He had a good run, as they say.
Yeah. Also, they don't even catch him in the pictures anymore.
No, it's time for young blood to come in. He's made his millions.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. Anyway,
by the way, Valentino Rossi is he's a motorcycle racer legend.
The legend. So what we're talking about, I think. It's Starbucks sucks at making coffee, but they have the best ever ma- um, market strategy, and that goes to show how much does it pay off to have a good mm,
Marketing strategy.
marketing strategy and social media manager, and they were ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
Since they went public.
Yeah. Even before. Yeah.
And before. So I was actually looking in Wikipedia because I go for serious sources. I was looking in Wikipedia. They started in 1971.
Yeah.
So the company started in 1971.
Selling beans. They weren't even a coffee company.
Yeah,
they just sold the beans.
Until the 90s, the late 90s, they were not even public. They didn't have shops. From 92, they started having shops. They started buying, and they had in 92 or 95, they had the first big product that they started having, which was the Frappuccino from another company that they bought off these.
Yeah, they bought out small companies. They own about 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, I don't know how you can call these. I mean, Frappuccino doesn't even. But anyway, it's a product that they got from someone. They started selling that, and they started making billions of dollars.
Well, you know who turned it around was Howard Schultz. I mean, he really made it into what it was. Yeah, Max, you've frozen. It's your network adapter. Oh, all on your back.
But the thing is,
could you start from the beginning? Sorry, Max.
No,
go back to the beginning. The first thing you said.
My connection
on
is
the
unstable.
podcast.
Oh my god. Yes, my connection is unstable. Oh my god. So, what?
I've had many relationships like that, Max. Don't worry, you'll get through it. I would say to Max, that's when you know a real nerd in a relationship. I think my connection with you is unstable.
Did you change the password recently? Isn't it password 123? Anyway, that's product placement, by the way. We've seen it.
Well, my can of Coke that I was just drinking. No, they didn't see that, Max, because you were talking. I waited until you talked, but now you've given it away.
Oh. Anyway, so what I was saying is they started selling the Frappuccino, and that they started making billions. In all the eras, they were one step ahead of the competition. So they started going public with something new, something fresh that is a new product, and it's very American. If you look at it, I mean, it's the most American thing you can think of. Oh, we need a new product to join the market, and they had the Frappuccino, which is what, a cold cappuccino mix thing.
Who knows? Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. It bears no resemblance. But if you go into the supermarket today, like I did today, or it was yesterday, but I'll say today, and I saw on the shelves Starbucks instant cappuccino, premium, by the way. First of all, I want to write into Kevin Johnson, I think his name is Kevin Johnson, the CEO, and demand to know why that instant cappuccino is a premium. Because I saw nothing on the ingredients that seemed to indicate to me that there were premium ingredients. It was basically skimmed milk and sugar and a little bit of instant coffee. That was it. And it's not a cappuccino and it's not premium, but it's marketing, Max. Come on.
It is marketing, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing as organic if you want, or whatever. It's all marketing. It's a marketing strategy, which is, for them, is a winning marketing strategy.
All right. Look,
they are ahead.
They are way ahead. Look, you've unfortunately bombed my whole plan, which was with something intellectual and smart to say. I want to do this is going to be like the Starbucks episode. There's going to be like, I don't really care about facts. I'm just going to talk about my feelings about Starbucks, why it sucks, why I think you should have a warning label. And I'm actually serious about this. I actually think there should be a warning label on their drinks. And I think they should not be allowed to call themselves a coffee shop anymore than somebody comes along and sells something that is sort of something swept off the floor and calling that a sausage. Right? Well, look, the French have got it right. They come around, they say, you cannot call your fizzy, nasty, sparkling wine champagne. That's exactly how they say it. And
the German accent.
that was my. Well, normally it sort of erodes into an Indian accent at some point. So just be grateful that we didn't get that far.
Yeah.
But the point is, right, there has to be some standards, damn it. The whole world is going down to hell in a handcart, and we need some standards. And Starbucks, for all the good things, innovative things that they've done, they are the devil. They are, yes, sir, they are the devil playing to you. And I'll give you a perfect example. It was in the stories, it was in the news today as to what I mean by this. In that people like me who have no self-restraint, right? If it wasn't for the fact that their coffee was so disgusting, I drink Americanos. Sorry, I drink espressos. If their coffee wasn't so disgusting, and I drank sort of, and I liked milky drinks, I would be in there all the time. I wouldn't be able to help myself. And that's the problem: is you go in there and you take a look at what they're actually selling. Not coffee. It is not coffee. And if you want to know that, you think, oh, Nick, you're just being a. No, you know what? I was watching Bloomberg last week, Bloomberg TV. Kevin Johnson came on to announce his results, CEO of Starbucks, and they asked him this question. And it was a great question. It said, are you concerned about the costs of Arabica increasing because of all the frosts in Brazil and the problems in Colombia and global warming and Arabica is dying?
95% of the revenue doesn't come from coffee.
Well, define coffee, right? Because I think Kevin Johnson will have something to say about that. Point is, no. He listened to his answer. He said, well, our coffees actually don't contain much coffee, so it doesn't bother us. He didn't actually say that, but it's pretty much what he said. He also said they hedge their things with futures and they don't care about the prices. They're not affected by that. But the main thing he said was most people come in, they buy a venti, caramel macchiato with whipped cream and all the rest of it. And that contains about, 3 or 4 or 5% coffee. So, actually the vast majority of the costs are made up with the milk and all the toppings that you add into it. It is not a coffee. How can that be constituted a coffee?
It isn't. But they don't sell coffee. They sell you an experience.
Well, they don't. Well, they should call themselves an experience company then, shouldn't they?
But they are. They are. I mean, every single thing that they do is crafted in order for them to get views, to get publicity. I mean,
all right. So take a look at every industry that does that.
A very simple thing. Why do you need to give them your name? Why do I want to go in there, barista, and I need to give them my name so that they can call me and give me the name? And why do they always misspell every single name that they put?
I think you should.
I have seen stuff that is incredibly simple. I mean, Max, right? Max. How difficult is it to understand it and write it? How did they write it? How did they spell it? Mutt with a U. And why would I say, oh yeah, just call me half braid or something?
Yeah, well, Max, I hate to be the one to point it out to you, but it may not have been a mistake.
Exactly. It's not a mistake, and it's never a mistake because
they don't like you.
What do? You take a picture of it and say, oh, let me spell my name. Look at that. And you post it. And it's free advertisement. Everyone does that.
I don't think they need that free advertising. I think they've got loads of it on TikTok with the drinks that they're doing.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Is the TikTokers, is the Facebook, is the Twitter. It's everyone talks about it. And it doesn't matter how you talk about something as long as you talk about it.
Right. Let's take a break.
That's the soul of advertisement.
Let's take a break. And whilst we're talking about things, and announce the winner, who I actually haven't contacted him yet. I know I was supposed to contact him last week, but last week was the final week we're trying to move house and get everything out the house, and it was frantic and stressful. So I haven't done that. But Stephen Pollan, if you're watching the podcast, you, sir, as long as you're in the UK, are the winner of a kilo of Ethiopian farm-to-home coffee. I will be dropping you an email after this podcast.
And we will send you the farm at home.
and we'll send you. Yeah, you're now the proud owner of that farm. Congratulations. You will be required to move to Ethiopia.
Yeah,
That's not a problem.
It can be delivered, but it's going to be flat packed.
It's going to be, yeah.
Some assembly required.
So congratulations to you. And yeah, we'll be in contact. I think you'll absolutely love it. And do send us some pictures of you loving it. That would be great. We'll post them up on our social media.
Do as if it was Starbucks.
Yeah. I have to say also, I would just, I'd like to take this moment to thank Farm to Home Coffee as well for getting involved and doing that with us. They're a great company. Do try their stuff. They've got beans from 4 different locations. And if you haven't heard me talk about it before, these guys basically give 100% of their profits back to the farmers. So it makes a significant difference to those farmers' lives. So do support them, because we like, besides of which the coffee is actually pretty good. My personal favorite I've had so far is a Tanzanian, I have to say.
Okay.
But that's it's a personal thing. So get through, try them all. We have an article this week out talking about sustainability, etc., and farmers' lives. We have an article out this week written by Greg Minahan. If you're not sure who he is, he currently he's working sort of for an NGO, but he's also worked for World Coffee Research, and he's held a number of senior posts, and he writes very well. He's written for Stand Art magazine and a number of others. So he's actually joining us as a regular monthly contributor. He wrote his first article on the site bartalks.net. Do go check it out, because he makes a fascinating argument that says you actually can't do sustainability without having the economics there. Mm-hmm. So this is sort of the segue from Farm to Home Coffee, saying, well, actually, we give all the profits back to the farmers. Basically, what Greg is saying is that if you actually are not taking care of the farmers, everything else falls apart. Everything else just becomes charity. It's a very interesting article, worth a read. So, Max, what are we giving away this next month? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Aha! I'm glad you asked. I have to dig it out from my pile of unpacked boxes. Hold on. Ooh, because I've actually got this one right here.
I mean, for a change, I don't have any mess behind me.
Yeah.
And instead,
what have you done?
I've tidied up. I mean, I haven't. I've contributed to tidying up. My in-laws gave me a major.
Somebody tied it up for you, and you're taking credit.
There were decisions to be made, but I've got my books.
And you're a classy guy because you've got a turntable. I always respect people with turntables.
I've got my microscope.
You have.
I've got my non-fiction, and I have my fiction.
It's slightly blurry. You can't read the titles of the books. To really show off on a Zoom call, you've got to have some thick manuals there that say things like you're subscribed to Nature magazine and things like that.
Oh, right.
Let me pull that out a little bit. What's that? Is that a if you could get a subscription to some science journal in Latin? Genes 8.
Yeah, but now
have you read Genes 1 to 7?
No, this is slightly outdated actually. It's Genes. I think it's 10, the 10th edition now. So it's slightly out of date.
Well, it was impressive until you mentioned that you were out of date.
Well,
That's okay.
I got my degree a while ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to show you anything.
What's the?
Oh, sorry. The thing we're giving away.
Ooh.
Yes, baby.
Can I join? I need to join. No,
you can't join. This is not going to you. We've talked about this. So this is, for those people listening, we're giving away a peak water filter. This is it's brand new, obviously. It's the one I've been using, and I don't need it anymore.
But I am not keeping this one. I am giving it away to followers.
So if you're still using tap water or Brita filters or whatever else, you are missing out massively on the new flavors that you will get from your coffee by using any kind of proper coffee water treatment. This Peak Water Filter is a British company, innovative British company that came along and basically designed it's like a Brita jug, but the filter in it, when you see the filter, it is like, I don't know, 4 times the size of a Brita filter, 5 times. It's big. And you've got a knob on there and a little strip inside where you measure your water. So you get a little chart on there. You dip it in some water for a couple of seconds. You look to see what color it goes. It tells you how hard your water is. And then correspondingly, what knob to twiddle your button to. So you have a button on the top of the jug. And that will basically filter to the perfect level the water for your coffee, and it makes a huge difference. So we're giving that away free of charge, free shipping. Max will also come over and make your first espresso with it, just to demonstrate the functionality.
Yeah.
Feel free to keep them for the day, have them clean the house, and do some more chores.
I will also raid the fridge and help myself.
Yes, you probably don't want him there. He'll be, so great. So we're putting that up for this next month.
That's really nice. I'm actually excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's very generous of me. I would actually like to take a moment out just to thank myself.
I think you should pat yourself in the back.
I would do. My shoulder, I've got very bad shoulder flexibility. I can sort of wave in the air, but I can't quite get around there. But
you can do these.
Yes, but that's not is that actually your back? That's your trapezius. Is that part of your back? It's kind of like just the top of my shoulder.
It's in the back.
Well, I'm glad people tuned in. So Starbucks sucks. Let me tell you why I think there should be a warning label, and I'm being very serious about this. You mentioned, look, they're great because they're marketing and they're great selling their stuff.
Just saying that they're great at marketing. I'm not saying I did not say anything about their coffee, which is terrible, and it's actually probably harmful because it's just bad. And I do not understand how you can have such. I don't know. Do you actually need to train to become a barista in Starbucks, or they just pick up people around?
No, they've got different levels as well. And if you see a barista with a black apron, it means he's been properly trained, and he
forgot everything about coffee.
No, look, I don't want to knock the baristas because that'll make us very unpopular. And I actually have no idea how much work, because we're so popular right now, Max. I have no idea what training they go through. The thing is, it doesn't matter how much training you put, it doesn't matter how good they are. They can only be as good as what they work with. And what they work with is crap. And I'll tell you why it's crap. It's crap for a number of reasons. One, the beans are ancient. Like there's no way you run a business like Starbucks and you're brewing fresh coffee and you're giving it out to people, right? That coffee is old. Coffee does not stay fresh for very long. Their coffee is not fresh. Secondly, it's all dark roast. And when I say dark roast, I mean it is burned pretty bad. It's burned pretty bad.
I mean, I've been in the US for a period, and I've actually had a series of dark roast and French roasts and Starbucks roasts. The Starbucks roasts, I thought that I have actually accidentally ground some of my barbecue briquettes.
Yeah, it's really, really burned. I mean, that's why they call them Charbucks.
I thought it was called $5.
Yeah, well, anyway, they call them lots of different things. But here's the thing. So people are saying, wait a minute, I go to Starbucks. I like their coffee. No, you like it once they've added milk, sugar, cream, and, maple syrup and everything else to it. That's what you like. I challenge anybody here, right? And this is an absolute serious challenge. What will I give you? I won't, because the people will lie. I challenge you in all honesty.
Online, you have to post a video of you drinking a Starbucks coffee.
No. Let's be a Starbucks espresso. Because I have tried it several times. And every time it was so bad, I couldn't finish it. I made a face. I almost was violently ill. I had to throw it away. And I thought to myself, that's so weird. It was really bad. This must be a bad Starbucks. And I tried again at another place. Like, for instance, I'm on the Channel crossing. You think, why are you going to Starbucks for an espresso, Nick? Well, because I'm somewhere where there's no other coffee shop. There's only a Starbucks. As you know, I like espresso. So there I am going into my Starbucks thinking, okay, knock it back. It'll be all right. How bad can it be? The answer is it can be undrinkable, totally undrinkable. You drink an espresso from Starbucks, which is the raw form of what that coffee is like, and
live.
film yourself.
Exactly, live. Film yourself
Yeah.
taking the coffee and drinking it and not making a face.
And keep smiling.
And Nick will pay you.
And if you can keep smiling, I will pay you whatever is in Mac's wallet at the time. I'll rifle through his wallet, and whatever's in there, I'm going to give it to you. Yeah. So that's what I challenge, so that's the bottom line. But the thing is, and most people know this, anybody who works in a coffee shop knows this, is that milk is a great neutralizer. It's a terrific neutralizer. So what you do if you have bad coffee is you just put milk on top of it, and that bad coffee is masked almost completely.
Sometimes it's unsavable.
Sometimes it's well, I don't know. It depends on what people are used to.
Well, actually, milk is fine with dark roasts. It saves dark roasts.
Yeah.
It takes away
it sweetens it, right?
Yeah, it takes away the bitterness. But it's if a coffee is very acidic, it's gonna make it worse.
Yeah, it could do. I don't drink an awful lot of milky coffee, so I'm not the expert. But I do know when I was running my cafe that if I screwed up an espresso, but it's having milk in it afterwards, I wouldn't care because I knew the person wouldn't notice. If I was making an espresso for somebody who's having an espresso, I would throw it away and do it again. And that's the honest truth. Is if they're drinking milk on top, I can make the best espresso in the world. They're not going to notice if I screwed one up or not. Truthfully, anyway. So that's the first thing, is their coffee just ain't good. Why is it not good? I think, and there's a number of conspiracy type theories going on. One of them, this is fascinating actually. One of them, some guy is basically postulating that they roast their coffee very quickly. It's commercially, they save a lot of money by roasting quickly. It spends less time in the roaster. So they roast it very hot and very quickly. I don't know if that's true or not. They certainly roast it dark, but whether they're roasting it quickly, I don't know.
It can be done with a fluidized bed. Not a fluidized bed, but similar to a fluidized bed, which is air roasting system. And obviously, the faster you do it, the more throughput you have, so the least it costs you.
Right.
Per kilo, per ton of coffee that you process, because obviously it's faster, and it's the time that it spends into the roaster that gives you the price,
the flavor, right, and everything else. The other thing,
no, it's not about the flavor; it's about the costs.
That's what I'm not talking
about flavors, because flavors are out of the window already.
Well, no, but this is my point. So they use 100% Arabica beans, right?
Do they?
That's what they say. Yeah, they say they do.
Yes,
yeah.
But how can you tell?
Okay, and I'm going to take their word on it. I don't think it's a big issue for me. Like where Arabica, even if they were using Robusta, I'd be like, so what? I drink Robusta beans. I've got no problems with them. Almost prefer that they got their strength, that coffee strength, from Robusta rather than from Arabica. But they say, no, we use 100% Arabica beans. And I'm sure that's from a marketing point of view. That just sounds good. But the thing is they don't taste like Arabica beans at all. They taste so strong and burnt. And
they get to a point where it doesn't really matter if you're roasting Arabica beans, Robusta beans, or wooden stove pellets.
Yeah, okay, they just burned them. So the first health problem, right, that I'm gonna bring up as to why I think that Starbucks should have a warning label on them is that they have much more caffeine in their shots than is normal in their drinks. Now, this is, I don't know. I suspect.
What's the source?
The internet is the source. But several different websites have reported that this is how much caffeine you get. So it could be completely fake. It could be fake news.
It could be, or they could be using Robusta. Because Robusta has more caffeine than Arabica.
It does. And that was my first thought. And that's why I looked it up. There's actually, I think there's a whole website dedicated to caffeine. I'm going to go see if I can find it. But the other thought that I had was that maybe it's because of the way they are roasting it, and they roast it so dry that, as you know, if you put 20 grams of a very dry, with the water content's gone out of it, those 20 grams is going to have more coffee in it, and therefore will have a higher amount of caffeine.
Yes, but the volume is going to be the same. So 20 grams of very dry coffee would take a much bigger volume. So it depends how they do the coffee delivery. And I don't think it's 20 grams. I don't think they do it by weight.
Okay.
I think it's just by volume. And I mean, nobody weighs unless it's a very high-end, special, super duper curly mustache coffee shop. It wouldn't be.
I tell you what. So here, there's a website that I think has should know what it's talking about, because they're called Caffeine Informer, and they do nothing but talk and measure caffeine.
Yeah,
now they have a page on Starbucks.
Website.
Right. They have a page on Starbucks. Check this out. Their regular featured dark roast, a tall, which is like a small one, has 195 milligrams of caffeine.
Per what?
For a tall 12 fluid ounces of Americano.
Right.
Right. Now check this out.
How much caffeine?
195 milligrams. To give you an idea, my shot of espresso will have around, which is around 40 grams, right?
Wait.
My double espresso is 40 grams, is about 100 milligrams of caffeine.
So you have, wait. What's fluid ounces? What is it?
Oh, it's an American thing, my friend.
Well,
I don't know. It'll be, hold on. Let me go ask Alexa. Alexa, how much is 12 fluid ounces in milligrams? Grams.
Something I found on the internet.
Oh, Alexa, stop. That's something I found on the internet. How many grams? I want to say, Alexa, how many grams in 12 fluid ounces?
Here's something I found.
No, Alexa, stop.
How many milliliters?
I'm typing into Google.
Alexa doesn't
grams in 12 fluid ounces. 340 grams.
So it's 340 milliliters. Right.
So for 340 grams of coffee, which is, a lot of it's going to be water.
Yeah.
Right,
how much caffeine do they have?
Now they have in a tall, they put one shot in.
Yeah. But how much caffeine is in it?
195 milligrams.
195 divided by 340. So it's 0.57 mgs per 0.57 milligram per gram.
Okay. That's with the water, right? So now my espresso has about 100 in 40 grams.
So
this is like double that. And their blonde roast has 200, which is the same thing, just different bean, right? Different bean that they
100
use.
milligrams in 40 grams is 2.5 ml. It's 2.5 milligram per gram.
But it doesn't really matter. This is an absolute, not a relative equation, because I'm going to have one espresso. You're going to have one blonde roast or whatever.
Yeah, because also they will put one shot. So one shot is actually not 40 grams. Well, let's say 40 grams for sake of argument. So it's their measurement is 195 in 40 grams.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you put hot water on top. So it's not 0.57, but it's 195 divided by 40, which is 4.8, 4.9 actually. And it's almost twice as much as you have in espresso. But how many grams are in that espresso? That is your reference in there. Single shot could be.
It's a single shot. So it's a single shot in a tall, 2 shots in a grande, and 3 shots in a venti.
Yes.
And
in the espresso that is under reference on that website, how many grams of coffee are we starting with?
No, I don't know. I've lost that website. Oh no, here it is. Sorry, no, sorry. Yep. How many grams of coffee you're starting with?
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't say that. It's got a
That's
table
important.
here. It's got a table here of them listed all out. And so let me just give you a couple of numbers here as reference points. All right. The blonde roast, same thing, tall Americano.
Yeah.
Blonde roast. Remember the dark roast, the featured dark roast, that's the regular one, 195. The blonde roast, 270.
How is that possible?
Nobody knows. It's a mystery. Going on, the grande, which is 2 shots, featured dark roast, 260, blonde roast, 360. And if you're a venti, it goes 340 and 475 respectively. Do you know, Max, do you know what the FDA, that's the Federal Drug Administration in America, recommends as a maximum of caffeine per day?
About 200, I think.
No, it's more than that. It's 400.
400.
Right. So one of these blonde roasts is going to, as a venti, is going to push you over the recommended daily limit. And I know several people who will have 2 or 3 of those a day. Now, and they're all software developers. Now, so we're just starting off, right?
And they see sound waves.
Starting off, yes, probably. Starting off, there's way too much caffeine in these things, right? Secondly, nobody has these drinks. If you go in, if you ask Kevin Johnson, because they did on the Bloomberg thing, what is he selling? Do you know what he's selling?
Biscuits.
No, the 73% of their sales are cold drinks. And he didn't give a number, but he said their Nitro cold brew is doing really well. So Nitro cold brew coffee, which I've heard is actually not bad from Starbucks.
It's a cold brew. It's obviously not bad because you take a very dark roast and you steep it.
Somehow the Nitro just makes it better. I don't know.
Nitro doesn't make it better. It just makes it look nice. It's like an espresso virtuo. It just makes it fluffy. It's frothy.
It does make it fluffy, and people say it's like a Guinness, and it's got that nice texture to it. But in any case, whatever you think about it, 73% of their drinks are sold as cold drinks. Now, what kind of cold drinks are people buying? Are they buying iced coffee? No.
You buy cold brew, you can buy iced coffee, and mainly you buy frappuccinos.
You buy the frappuccinos, baby. Those things are not coffee.
No.
They're abominations.
They're coffee flavored.
Well, are they even?
But
they're ice cream, aren't they? They're just ice cream milkshakes and things.
Yeah, but it's all, I mean, it's targeted to a certain age range, which is not us anymore. We're out of the scope. We're out of the target.
All the more reason why there should be a warning label, because you're basically targeting impressionable people. This goes to my point, right? Which is, I'll make my point and then I'll let you argue it. And you can play devil's advocate and everyone can hate you. My point is that we regulate so many other areas where children are impressionable. Do we let children gamble? No, we don't. You can't advertise to children gambling. Can you advertise, fast food and sweets to children? A lot of places are starting to ban that now. What about alcohol or smoking? No.
Well,
all of these things.
Alcohol has serious development issues, causes serious development issue in the brain until you reach a certain age.
I bet you sugar does.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I bet you it does. I bet you it causes all sorts of, maybe whether it's mental or not, I don't know, but I bet you it causes all sorts of physiological changes.
Physiologically, yes. Excessive sugar can actually lead to early diabetes.
Well, of course, that's exactly my point. Not can, does. Well, in the vast majority of cases, not always.
Can.
Type 2 diabetes, vast majority.
I'll teach you to be a scientist. It can.
Now, I've read books on this because I've suffered from it.
Yeah.
And I know you're absolutely right. It's not always. And you can have people, for example, who are very overweight, who don't have type 2 diabetes, and you're thinking, how on earth? And for some reason, their body can metabolize, and the liver doesn't respond in the same way. Whereas other people, they will start to develop fatty deposits around their liver, and this is what starts to become problematic and leads to the type 2 diabetes, along with, of course, their cells getting stuffed with sugar, with glucose, effectively, that the insulin can no longer pack in, so it produces more and more insulin, then it becomes insulin insensitive, or whatever the right word is. But
intolerant.
Thank you.
Intolerant.
Yeah.
tolerance.
And that happens when more and more sugars or things with a high, not to say sugars, anything with a high glycemic load, which is how quickly it spikes your blood sugar. Some things spike your blood sugar more slowly than others. That high glycemic load spikes your blood sugar. So this is, let's separate it. You've got sugar and you've got things that have a high glycemic load. And this is important because this is going to come back to Starbucks.
Yep.
So you've got kids in there. What kind of drinks they like? Milky, cold drinks with syrups. Right.
And another thing,
What?
the fact that older people tend to like bitters, tend to like coffee, tend to like unsweetened coffee, tend to like whiskey and this kind of stuff is because the older you grow, the more tolerant, the less sensitive you are to bitterness, because the receptors in your tongue actually shut down for bitterness. And that's why when you're young, you can't stand bitter stuff. And it's a reaction, it's probably it's been linked to an adaptation, to something that humans have adapted to, because when you're younger, you're less tolerant to poisons, which are typically bitter.
That's true. That's true. If something's bitter, it tends to be poisonous. All right. So look, Max, the reason I was gonna bring this around is there's two things. The glycemic load and the sugars, right? So so you have
a lot of sugar and milky stuff that go into the drink.
Do you know what the glycemic load of milk is?
I think it's quite high because it's got a lot of lactose, and
it's very high. Milk is very bad for you from a diabetic point of view.
Well, every molecule of lactose, it has now my professor of biochemistry will probably come and haunt me. But it's got two sugars. So lactose is formed of two sugars, and when you break it down, every single molecule of lactose will create two molecules of a simpler sugar. I think one is glucose and the other one I think is fructose, but I'm not sure. Or maybe it's glucose and glucose, but they are bound. I think it's two glucose and they are bound in a slightly unusual way.
Yeah.
And that's why you need the lactase, which is a different enzyme that breaks it down. But every molecule of lactose will generate two molecules of glucose.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. I didn't know why it was. And glucose is the thing. Glucose is the bad thing. So it all comes down to glucose. If it's not glucose, it's not a problem.
Thing. Too much of it is the bad thing.
Yeah. And we're always having too much of it. So glucose is the bad thing here. And you're basically peddling this to a lot of impressionable young people with their TikTok videos and everything else. This is just the same way as if you're peddling cigarettes and everything else. You're setting children up, you're setting people up, and frankly, not just children, adults too get addicted to this. This stuff is addictive, and it's addictive. And people like me who have terrible self-restraint issues walk past and think, just one won't hurt. And then they've got you, and then you're addicted and you start loving it and you're in for another one. No wonder Starbucks is doing very well, massively successful company, but they are a company that should be regulated in the same way cigarette companies are. Do you know what's amazing? What's amazing was the CEO of one of the biggest cigarette companies. I think it was Philip Morris. Don't know if you heard this. Last week, I saw him on CNBC. He came out and he had an interview and he said, we need to, as a business, we are going to stop selling cigarettes in the UK. We basically want to get out of the cigarette business. And she said, well, hold on a second, you're a cigarette company. And he said, yeah, but it's terrible for you. This is really bad. It's killing people. We've got to get out of it. And this is the CEO of a cigarette company saying, we are killing people, could get out of it. And what they want to get in, they want to get into vaping or something else. She said, yeah, but hold on a second. Vaping's got health issues. And he goes, yeah, but it's not as bad as smoking, And I feel like Starbucks is on that same route. And I don't want to pick on Starbucks, but they are. Do you know how much coffee Starbucks buys as a percentage of global coffee?
Probably the largest amount.
Yeah, they are the biggest buyer of coffee in the world. They buy 3% of all coffee in the world is bought by Starbucks. So when you're talking about affecting change, you don't start with the small coffee shop on the corner. You start with the big ones. And for me, I think Starbucks should, and they're not a coffee chain. They sell sweet, sugary, milky drinks. I don't know what you'd call them.
I'll also add another thing before we drift too much, and then it's weird for me to come back to it.
Yeah.
Another effect of caffeine is to release glucose.
Is that right?
Yes, caffeine makes your liver break down the glycogen, which is the molecule, the polymer of glucose that is stored into the liver cells. It makes it break it down and increases the blood sugar. It increases the free flowing blood sugar. So it's actually
a terrible combination.
Bitter coffee is good for you because it gets you some energy, which is physically it actually gets. Caffeine is a vasoconstrictor, so it squeezes your veins and your blood flows faster, and that's why it also helps with headaches. And that's why if you're in withdrawal, you can actually get headaches.
Because I've had that.
And on top of that, it helps and it makes your liver release glucose into the bloodstream. So if you're having sugary stuff and coffee, you're actually increasing the amount of sugar that goes into your blood.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. It's a perfect storm.
It's not as such a dramatic effect, but
yeah, it all helps. So I literally read before I came on here about a lady in Russia who's suing McDonald's because she said she couldn't resist eating their cheeseburger and McNuggets. And she's suing them for £10, a tenner. I love that. I want to interview this woman. Her name is Senia. I can't remember her last name. It was Senia. And she basically said, I'm a vegetarian. And when she was on a vegetarian diet, and she's on a vegetarian diet during Lent. And she said, I've been fasting for Lent for 16 years without fail, always succeeded. But then I drove past an advertisement for a cheeseburger and McNuggets, and she said I couldn't resist it. And I went in and I ate it, and I felt so terrible. And I'm suing McDonald's because they basically made it irresistible for me to break my Lent and my fast. And that's obviously comical and very funny. But the kind of the underlying point here, there is one vaguely I'm grasping for, is that
together with all the straws you're getting,
is that actually she's being very honest, right? She doesn't have a case, not a case in hell, right? Take responsibility, Ksenia, but take responsibility for your own actions. But here's the thing: is that this is the problem: is that Starbucks is better at advertising their sugary, terrible drinks to people than people are at not being able to resist them. And that's part of the reason why they're so successful. Why should they change? Because they should change because actually Starbucks, in many other ways, this is one of the good things about them, is actually quite a responsible company. They do quite a fair amount of the sustainability side of things. They have taken positions in terms of in American politics that I happen to agree with, that I think are sometimes quite brave. So they're this company that actually has some kind of moral backbone to it, and yet their fundamental business is to inflict damage on a lot of impressionable people's lives. So that probably sounds pretty serious to a lot of people, but I sort of feel this is not what people thought probably when they're signing on, thinking, Starbucks they're going to talk about just how bad the coffee is. Yes, the coffee is terrible and it's really, you shouldn't drink it. But that's actually not the bigger problem. The bigger problem is they don't sell coffee at all.
Yeah, but from a business point of view, they're winning. They're doing
great.
Great.
But then, but the mafia, is a good business model as well. Corruption
because that's
pays
illegal.
off.
They're
What?
not doing anything illegal.
No, but everything's legal until you make it illegal, Max. Yeah, afraid so,
Yes.
pal. Go back and take a look at all the laws, and you'll find that they were invented at some point.
True.
And before then, they were completely legal. So actually, the issue is you've got to move the times as our understanding grows about the dangers of things like what we're doing. We put seatbelts in to protect ourselves from car crashes. Not everyone liked it at the time. By the way, we used to drink and drive. I used to drink and drive. I remember conversations when I was, a young driver, of the next morning meeting up with your friends and going on and bragging about how drunk you were when you drove home. That sounds horrendous to say that now, but at the time, I'm afraid to say, at the time, it was cool to drink and drive. And now we look back and we think how stupid we were, how irresponsible we were. And I think that it just takes a little bit of prescient, awareness to start thinking about some of the things that we're facing now rather than waiting for someone to point out that that X% of GDP is spent on healthcare for people with type 2 diabetes. And where has this come from? Oh, actually, it's come from, the big successful companies. Are we happy that they're big and successful? Well, not really, because society as a whole pays for it through the healthcare.
I agree with you on that.
What a jolly episode, Max. Thanks for joining me. I'm not bitter at all.
No, not at all. Well, what happened to you? You're so unusually happy and cheerful.
I know. I thought what I'd do is I'd throw a spanner in the works and have a grumpy episode.
I'm the grumpy one normally. Come on.
I know, right? I've out-grumpied you.
That's weird.
I know, right?
That's
I know,
weird.
right? Tune in next week for Max delivering a delightful, reciting his latest poems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to, yeah.
So no, I wanted to cover that topic. Just get it out of my system. This is more a cathartic vomiting of my reaction to these constant news feeds and people getting excited. Every day I have to go through my Google news feeds of everyone getting excited the latest caramel macchiato, which by the way isn't a macchiato in any shape or form. That they've made.
It's not even caramel.
Wow, it's not even caramel. You're right. Literally, the whole thing is a lie. It's not a macchiato. There's no caramel in there. It's all just a lie. Oh, can we end this? Is there a segue into anything?
There could be, but pleasant. What are you drinking now?
Oh, I'll tell you, actually, oh my God, I'm so glad you mentioned this. Oh, thank God we're ending on something positive. I'm drinking. Oh God. We've just drunk away through in about a little over a week, 1 kilo of something called Peace and Hope. You'll know who that's from.
Nice, from Peaberry.
From Peaberry. I've been going through I can't say why I'm going through the coffees at the moment. I'm going through some specific coffees at the moment. I'm going to explain it probably in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, what we're doing.
Okay.
But I like to be a bit mysterious,
Ooh.
It's more interesting that way. But we got this Peace and Hope, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, and I'm actually trying
it's a blend.
It is a blend. It's a successful blend. I actually don't know what is it blended from. I did look. I can't remember.
I don't remember on top of my head, but it's a blend that actually Peaberry sell as the commercial blend. So you can actually find these in some coffee shops whenever they reopen.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. It's got a really good flow to it. I'm throwing 21 grams in. This is my favorite recipe. It comes out fine with 18. I'm throwing 21 in and getting sort of 45 out, something like that. It is thick. It is textured. It is delicious.
But can you taste the banana?
No, there's no banana in there. That's a trick question. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking at the moment. I've ordered 1 kilo today of Solitude because there's a new recipe from Carvetti on their Solitude.
But they call it the same names just to confuse people.
Well, I think what they do is a brand. It's a brand, and what they try to do is the brand represents something, and then you get the coffee, because you can't get the same coffee all the time for all sorts of reasons.
No, you can't.
Yeah. That could be a topic, actually. Let's not talk more about that. Let's go and make that a topic for another time. Max, a sign off before I get grumpy again, and I will see you next week. I'm almost totally moved in. I think I said that a couple of weeks ago, but I now
Yeah, I
am.
think it's been a recurring theme of hearing that, but that's okay.
Well, I
Anyway,
think I've unpacked the last box. Although I
don't have the laundry here. I moved it.
This is amazing.
I moved.
But although you did say you never, this is the first time you've admitted it was laundry.
It wasn't, but I wanted you to remember. So I call it with the name.
Sure. The laundry that wasn't laundry is now being moved out of the sight of the camera.
It's not laundry. I
Okay.
now have my comic books in there.
Oh yeah, I would ask you, but I know you'll go on for another hour, so I'm just not going to say anything. So we're not going to say anything about that. Max, I'm going to see you next week. We're going to be talking. I'll come up with a cheerful topic for next week.
Yes.
I look forward to all of the flames and people that want to threaten to kill me on the YouTube. Feel free to dislike the video.
What?
And
I don't think actually this is going to cause any flames, because
who's going to argue with us? Somebody will.
No, we're talking to our own echo chamber.
We are. People, the sort of people that listen to
snobs.
us kind of know all this already.
And all of you guys, all of you are coffee snobs, and you know that. So everyone.
I don't think this is a coffee snob thing. Can I just say to you, but to anybody that says you're a coffee snob, I refute that. And I got evidence. And my evidence is I have no problems going down to a McDonald's and eating a McDonald's. I try not to because I know it's very unhealthy. But I have no problems. I like the taste of McDonald's. The difference is
coffee.
I know, but I'm aligning the 2 points. So what I'm saying is, if I was a snob about something, I wouldn't eat at McDonald's. I'd be like, McDonald's is terrible food. Yeah, I know it's terrible food. I still eat it because it tastes nice from time to time. I'm a bit, I go onto the dirty side. Mm-hmm. But with Starbucks, I would not take it. I will not take it because it just tastes bad. Period. That's it.
So you're a snob?
No, I'm not a snob. Anyway, Max, go away. Have a nice Sunday evening. No doubt you're supposed to have done the cooking by now. And I will see you next week.